Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel. Today we are organizing my Goodreads TBR. If you haven't noticed from some previous videos, like my productive week in my life vlog or my monthly reset, I love to make lists. I love to plan. So this is basically me being very much an overanalyzer of my plans and loving organization of all kinds. So I have on my Goodreads, I have several shelves that I organize. I have my want to read shelf, but I also have a maybe TBR and a priority TBR. So basically, if I see a book that I'm interested in, but I'm not sure yet if I want to read it until I kind of see more about it, like maybe some more reviews come out or something like that, I'll put it on the maybe TBR. And then when I decide that yes, that is for sure one that I would like to read, I move it up to the want to read shelf. And then when it is like top priority, absolutely must read, I move it to the priority TBR. I love lists. This stuff makes me happy. This could be like so much of overkill for other people, which it probably is. Today I thought it would be kind of fun to organize these shelves, and particularly the priority TBR, try to narrow that one down because I have like hundreds of books on my want to read shelf, on my maybe TBR shelf, and my priority TBR really should be like just a subset of books that I'm like so much wanting to read. So my goal is to make that priority TBR shelf around 50 books. That means that those are the books that if I'm looking to haul some books, if I'm looking to buy, that priority TBR is what I'm looking at. So right now it's set to 0. I kind of cleared it out because I wanted to start fresh. And my want to read shelf is at 341 books. That's so many. So I'm going to go through with you and move some books to the priority TBR. So I'm going to share my screen and we're gonna do this together. I know the first ones I need to add to my priority TBR are the ones that I featured in a video previously talking about the books that I really want to prioritize, like fantasy books that I really want to prioritize after I get through some of them that are on my physical shelves already. So I have a whole list that I can link that video down below if you're interested in seeing what those series are, but things like the Long Price Quartet was on that list. So I'm gonna go ahead and move that definitely to the priority TBR. So that's for sure one. So I'll go ahead and do that with the rest of those books that I had featured in that video. So here we have the priority TBR. So I am now at 15 books, and these are all of the books that were mentioned in that previous video. So I only have 35 more books left to choose from. I'm gonna start by going to my want to read shelf. So one thing I know I want to do is start prioritizing more self-published fantasy. That's something that is definitely on the very close horizon for my channel. So I did go through previously some books that were on my want to read shelf and kind of marked them as like self-pub priority. So I'm gonna go to that category and see if there's ones that I can move over to the official priority TBR. So I'm just kind of doing like a quick scan through them first. That one's already on it. Oh man. Okay. So this one I'd heard, I think it was just Shauna talked about this one potentially. No, it might have been Angela from Literature Science Alliance. I think she had shouted this one out in one of her videos and it put it on my radar and it sounded so good and it had such a good rating and it doesn't have very many. So I would like to add this one, I think, 30 TBR. So that's one. I've heard amazing things about Of Honey and Wildfires from Andrew over at Andrew's Wizardly Reads. I think he loved this one, if I recall. So this is another one. Let's move that one over. Okay, and let's pick one more from this list here. I know I've heard amazing things about Dragon Mage. That one's extremely popular, but it has a good amount, I think, of ratings right now. Let's see. Yeah, it's got like almost 4,000, where some of these other ones don't have as many. So I kind of want to see if there's one that maybe I would want to prioritize that doesn't have quite as many ratings. Maybe it's a little little more underrated, needs some more hype. So this one here has been calling my name every time I see it. The cover is so striking, and this one only has 150 ratings, and it's got a really good average rating. So I think let's go ahead and move this one and make that the priority TBR. And it sounded really good. It says this is an epic fantasy with fire and flame, swords and martial arts, and a strong female protagonist and antagonist. Different sides from an upcoming elemental war. I love that. Bring out the hero and the villain and the hero. I love stuff like that. So this is one that has been on my radar for a while. So I feel good about moving that to the priority. So that puts us up to 18, I think, of the priority TBR. Yes. Okay. So now let's go back to our want to read. And another thing I really like to do is I like to read books from authors that I know I've enjoyed before. So I have like a whole Goodreads shelf dedicated to already owned authors. So some of these might be ones that I want to prioritize. Let me just kind of scan through it first just to see what we've got going on. Ooh, this is one that was a really highly anticipated release for me. And then some of these are like series that I need to complete as well. Okay, I bet we can find some in this list that I definitely want to move. Okay. Oh boy, I'm already seeing so many that I want to move, and I have to kind of like rein myself back a little bit. Okay, oh my gosh. That one I've already bought. So I'm gonna move that to my physical TBR, and then that won't count. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, and I'm trying not to include ones that haven't been released yet. It has to be something that's already out. So let me go back to the beginning. Okay, so The Whispers is one that I'm really highly anticipating. I loved The Push, but I don't think the rating is as good as The Push was. I mean, that's still really good for a Goodreads average rating, but I don't think I want to do that one. Frederick Bach, The Winners. I feel like I have to add this one because this is one, it's the third book in like the Beartown series, and Beartown is like one of my favorite books of all time. I love that book so much, and I loved the second book as well. So I feel like I have to prioritize the third book in that series. So we'll definitely add that one. This is one, Warrior Girl Unearthed. I loved Firekeeper's Daughter, and this was such a highly anticipated release. It is now out, and it has such a good average rating. I'm definitely going to move that one. Let's see. Even though I've heard that the Finlay Donovan series doesn't like maintain its consistency, like it doesn't have great reviews for its sequels, I do still want to continue on with that series, at least with the second one. I did have a good time with the first one, so I'm going to move that one to the priority TBR as well. The Malevolent Seven, Sebastian de Castell is like one of my favorite authors now after loving The Greatcoats, and even though I haven't been seeing as rave of reviews for The Malevolent Seven, it has such a fun premise of like wizards who are kind of corrupt and on this, I think, like heist mission or something. So I feel like I really, really want to prioritize that one, even if it doesn't have like the best reviews. Another one I really would like to prioritize, I think that A Twisted Love Story just came out, and I love Samantha Downing. She's, yeah, it doesn't come out yet, but it's so close to coming out. All right, let me see if there's other ones, because maybe there's some other ones that I would want to prioritize anyway. Let's see. Love on the Brain by Allie Hazelwood. I loved, what's it called? Oh my gosh, Love Hypothesis. Loved that book so much. It's one of my favorite romance books, so I can't believe I haven't read Love on the Brain yet. Same thing with How to Sell a Haunted House. Grady Hendrix is one of my favorite authors, and I have loved his books so much that I've been meaning to read How to Sell a Haunted House, and it doesn't have the best reviews, but I don't really care. I'm so excited to check it out anyway. So definitely want to prioritize that one. Same thing with Actor Age Eve Brown. I loved the first 2 books in the Brown Sisters series, so this is definitely one I also want to prioritize. And then, well, let's see. The Will of the Many, I've been hearing, like, look at that average rating. That's insane. How many ratings does this have? 1,600, 4.71. That is unbelievable for Goodreads. I've not seen many average ratings quite that high. So we're definitely going to move that to the priority TBR. That is one I really, really want to check out. The Book That Wouldn't Burn, that's another one I've been hearing a lot of hype for. And I really liked the Book of the Ancestor series. It's right there, by Mark Lawrence. And this is, I think it's very different from the Book of the Ancestor. I've been hearing it's kind of has like Piranesi vibes, which I haven't read Piranesi, but I kind of know like that means that it's going to be very different than Book of the Ancestor. So I'm very curious about this one, and it's been getting some good reviews. Some people have been like meh on it, but I've been seeing more good reviews than not. So that's another one I've been wanting to prioritize. One of Us Is Next. I really had so much fun with One of Us Is Lying by Karen McManus, so I wanted to continue on with this series. So I'm going to move that to the priority as well. Let's see, what does that bring us up to? 28. Okay, so I still have like a good amount left, a good amount of spots. Some of these thrillers are so hard for me to prioritize over like fantasy books because I just love fantasy so much, but then I do need some palate cleansers in between some of these chunkier fantasy books, and I honestly get through thrillers so much faster than other books, so I should probably move some of them to the priority TBR. So like Insomnia by Sarah Pinborough, this is one I've been wanting to check out for so long now. It had such an interesting premise, and then I read Behind Her Eyes by the same author and had so much fun with that book. So I've been really wanting to check this one out. I'm going to move this one to the priority. This, oh my God, I love The Maid by Nita Prose, but this doesn't come out until later this year, so I can't move it yet, according to my own rules. Oh, this is so hard. Okay, I feel good about where we're at. So that's 29 books on the priority TBR. Okay. Now let's go to the want to read shelf and let's just take a look at the rest of them. So, Rise of Gods. This is one that I think is also self-published, and another one that I saw the pitch for and was instantly intrigued. Described as American Gods meets the Avengers and Supernatural meets The Lord of the Rings, which is so wild. I mean, it's probably not like all of those things. That's so, those comparisons are so wildly different from each other. But I'm intrigued enough to add this to the priority TBR, and I know that Patrick loved this series. I think he gave this first book 4.5 stars. And I have some friends here who have read it, or 4 stars, okay. So I kind of want to try this one, just because it sounds like such a good time. And I've been wanting to prioritize the self-published books. I don't know why I missed this one on my self-pub priority, so let me add it there. And then let me add it to the priority TBR, because I think I would have a lot of fun with that one. So Day Zero, this is one that was, I think, a sci-fi. And again, I remember seeing the premise for this one. I think it was Rachel from the Shades of Orange who put this one on my radar. So it's a sci-fi, and I think it's very much like a dystopian, and it's a boy and I think like his AI friend or something. Pounce, a stylish nanny bot fashioned in the shape of a plush anthropomorphic tiger, has just found a box in the attic, his box, the box he'd arrived in when he was purchased years earlier, and the box in which he'll be discarded when his human charge 8-year-old Ezra no longer needs a nanny. Okay, I'm already sold. That sounds so good. Okay, I'm gonna add that to the priority TBR as well. All right, Piranesi, I am just so curious about. I've heard amazing, amazing things. I've heard not so amazing things. So I just want to check that one out for myself. So I'm going to add that one for sure. The Blood Trials, I was like definitely wanting to check out. And then I've seen such bad reviews for the sequel that I don't know now if I want to do. It's only a duology. That's the thing. Like if the sequel was getting like middling reviews, but there were more series or there were more books in the series after that, then maybe I could like, you know, look past it. But the fact that this is only a duology and the conclusion has not great reviews, I don't know now if I want to pick it up. So I'm going to leave that one off for now. Oh, You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. Okay, I've heard amazing things. I know the average rating doesn't seem great, but I've heard such amazing things from the people who have read this, whose channels I watch. So I still really want to give this a chance, and it like the cover is so beautiful. So I'm going to add that one to my priority TBR. So Inkheart is one that I think is like an older middle grade. Yeah, first published 2003. I'm not that old, but older, not a more recent release for sure. And middle grade is something I do tend to every now and then really enjoy picking up. Again, they're great palette cleansers between like other epic fantasy books, and I'm kind of trying to build up slowly a collection of books for my daughters to enjoy when they get older. So this is one that has been on my radar for a long time. It's more of a classic, I think, middle grade, and the premise itself sounds so fun, like reading about these characters brings them to life kind of thing. So I'm going to add this one to my priority TBR as well, because I do want at least like 1 or 2 middle grade on that priority TBR, I think. So I feel good about that one. We're up to 34. Okay. Okay, the other middle grade is A Pinch of Magic. That's the other one I've heard such amazing things about from Gavin at How to Train Your Gavin. So I'm going to go ahead and add this one to my priority TBR as well, because he totally sold me on that series, and I think it would just be a lot of fun. The Library at Mount Char, this is one I've had on my radar for so long, and I have heard so many people love this. I think it's more of a dark fantasy, like a horror fantasy, and a lot of people have said it's like one of their favorite fantasy standalones. So a fantasy standalone, I'm all for it. I'm going to add this one to the priority TBR. So T. Kingfisher, I've read Nettle and Bone, and I really enjoyed it. And I want to check out more T. Kingfisher. The Hollow Places is one that even before I read Nettle and Bone, this was one that was on my radar because of the premise. A young woman discovers a strange portal in her uncle's house, leading to madness and terror. So I think it's sold as a horror fantasy, but I think it's a little bit lighter in tone. And the idea of having like a portal into this dark fantasy world really, really intrigued me. So this, I think, was the next T. Kingfisher I wanted to read, even more so than her latest release. So I'm going to add that one to my priority TBR. Okay, let's keep going. 37. Okay, we're at 37. Okay, John Mars, that's another author that I definitely want to read more of. And the one is, I think, outside of The Passengers, which I've read, I loved that book. I think the one is his most popular. I think it has a lot of ratings, and I've only heard good things about it. So I'm going to add this one to the priority TBR because I definitely want to read more John Mars, and that's the next John Mars I want to read. Okay, so I love Trevor Noah. I really have been wanting to read his memoir, Born a Crime, and I've heard the audiobook for it is amazing because he narrates his own audiobook, and again, like memoirs are not something I reach for a lot, but when I do, I tend to really enjoy them. And it's always something good for me to get on audio when I am looking for more audiobooks. So I'm going to add this one to my priority TBR. This is definitely one I could pick up sooner rather than later because it's a great audiobook. So gonna add that one. Oh, another one, In Order to Live, North Korean Girl's Journey to Freedom. This one sounded so good, and it has an amazing average rating. Again, I'm going to pick up the audiobook for that one, and I think I'm going to love it. So I think that one I'll also add to my priority TBR. I think 2 memoirs on that priority TBR is good, and it's good in between other fantasy books. Those are the ones I would want to read. All right, Ariadne, I passed by this one, but I'm going to come back to it because I really enjoyed Electra by Jennifer Saint, and Ariadne was the one that came before Electra. And I know she just recently released another Greek mythology retelling. So this is one that I would really like to read, Ariadne. I would love to read more of her books, see if she is an author for me. So I'm going to make that a priority TBR pick. And hopefully get to that one sooner rather than later. Oh, I've heard such good things about Crying in H Mart, but I just added 2 memoirs. Should I add a third? Okay, we are at 41. Oh, that's... Okay, I'm going to add it. I'm going to add it, Crying in H Mart, because I think I've heard such amazing things. I really want to read that one. So I'm going to add that one. And then I saw one up here that I think I'm going to go back to. Ebony Gate. So Ebony Gate... is one that released, I think it's releasing this month. Yeah, July 11th. So, I mean, by the time I would get around to reading these, it would definitely be out. So I'm going to say Ebony Gate is another one I really like to prioritize because that one sounded so good. It was like a Japanese-inspired fantasy. It sounded so good. All right. Oh, we're at, what are we at? 43, I think? Yeah, okay. That's so many. Okay, let's look at subscriber recommendations and see if there's any here that we can switch over. The Writing Retreat. The Writing Retreat is one. I'm surprised at the low average rating on Goodreads because I've heard other people talk about it so highly on BookTube. I think Mara from Books Like Whoa loved this one. So that's surprising that it does have such a low average rating. I'm kind of curious as to why. So maybe I would add this one just out of curiosity. Oops, did not mean to do that. Yeah, so we'll add that one. The Enigma of Room 622. Someone left this in the comments for me, so I added it to my subscriber recommendations. Let's see what it's about. One night in December, a corpse is found in room 622 of the Hotel Verbier, a luxury hotel in the Swiss Alps. A police investigation begins without definite end, and public interest wanes with the passage of time. Years later, Paprika, Wilson. Oh, this is fun. Meanwhile, in the wake of set to take over president. Swiss watch. Diabolically addictive thriller. Love triangle, power struggle, shocking betrayal. Oh, it's a translated novel too. Oh, that sounds really fun. Ooh, maybe I do want to add that one. That's a contender. Oh, The Wishing Game. I think that one just came out. May 30th, yeah. Years ago, a reclusive mega best-selling children's author quit writing under mysterious circumstances. Offering a prize, make a wish. Ooh, this one sounds good too. Oh, this sounds great. Okay, I'm going to add this one. And I'm going to add and I'm going to add The Enigma. I see some other fantasy series. The reason I'm not clicking on those is because I've already added so many fantasy series to that priority TBR. Like, these sounded really good, these couple, but I'm trying not to just add so many fantasy because realistically, I would not be able to get to fantasy series like this as quickly as like some thrillers or some contemporaries or memoirs, those sorts of things. So I need like a good balance here. So I'm kind of going through and seeing what I got. Yeah, like I have a lot of fantasy series right now, so I need to rein myself back on the fantasy, even though I could totally keep adding a lot more here. Okay, let's go. I'm curious what's in my maybe TBR because I haven't revisited this maybe TBR in a long time. So I just want to do a quick scan through and make sure there's nothing on here that I've wanted to move up in priority. Okay, see, like this is one that has moved up in priority. I don't know if all the way to the priority TBR. The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This is one, I think it's, yeah, fantasy romance. So slightly different than like just an epic fantasy. I think fantasy romance is a little bit easier to read, not quite as dense typically. So this is another one that is so hyped that the hype has really started to intrigue me. And I do want to do a video series of like reading the most hyped booktube books. Like, are they worth the hype? So this is one I could probably get to pretty soon because I want to do kind of a video around reading these hyped books. So I'm going to move this up to want to read, but not all the way to priority TBR. I could definitely go through and clean up this maybe TBR, but I'm going to go back to my want to read and try to add 4 more. Oh boy. Okay, so I probably don't want to add any more fantasy series. Family Lore was one, I think it's, yeah, August 1st. Darn it. But you know what? I added Ebony Gate. This is one, Elizabeth Acevedo is an author I've seen so many good things about. And I've heard such great things about her young adult contemporary books. And I don't usually reach for young adult contemporary books. They usually just don't hit the same way for me anymore. I kind of have grown out of that phase of life. So when I heard that Elizabeth Acevedo was doing an adult contemporary book, I immediately added it because I've been wanting to check out this author for so long. And now that she's doing adult, I think that this could appeal to me a lot more and be a great way to see what the hype around this author is all about. So I'm going to add this one to my priority TBR. I'm breaking my own rules here, but oh well, it's my rules. I can change them. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add The Whispers because I had talked about that one earlier and I'm just going to go ahead and add it because I loved The Push so much. And I really want to read anything else by this author. Page turn about 4 suburban families whose lives are changed when the unthinkable happens, and what is lost when good people make unconscionable choices. Yeah. Her book previously, The Push, was really difficult to read, but it was something where I couldn't put it down once I started it, and she had such a way of writing characters that made it feel so much like you were experiencing the things they were going through. She did such a good job with that, and it sounds like this is going to be a very similar reading experience where it's going to be difficult, but it's going to be something where you can't put it down and you just can't look away. So I definitely want to read that one. Okay, 2 more. How do I pick? This is getting really difficult now. Small Favors. This is one I really want to check out. Erin A. Craig has been on my radar for a while. She's written several young adult kind of horror mystery novels. I think her most popular was House of Salt and Sorrows, if I recall. Let's see. Yes, House of Salt and Sorrows. But Small Favors, I think Elle read this one and got me so intrigued by it. The cover apparently is very misleading because it's fantasy horror and it's quite creepy, she said. So that was one where I was like, oh, sign me up. Fantasy horror. I'm all for it. So I'm going to add that one to the priority TBR. Oh my gosh, I only have 1 more. Is the Deep Sky? I think this one was a sci-fi. Yeah, this one's coming out July 18th. This one sounded really good. Oh, you know what? This one did sound so good. A sci-fi thriller debut, mission into deep space that begins with a lethal explosion and leaves the survivors questioning the loyalty of their crew. All right, that's it. That is the last priority TBR. All right, let's see it. Let's see what the final results are for this priority TBR. Watch me like immediately want to go back and change it. But no, I feel really good about this. So we've got a nice mix, I think, of fantasy series, like the starts to fantasy series, and then also other stuff like contemporary, thrillers, memoirs, a couple sci-fi in there. So I think I feel really good about this. And some self-pub, which I really wanted to prioritize, some anticipated releases, some older releases. Yeah. Some from authors I've read from before, some from new authors to me. So I think I feel good. Yeah, I like the way this looks. I'm really happy with this. So hopefully this was semi-interesting. I will hopefully be getting to these particular books before a lot of other books I would pick up. Because again, when I go to buy books, haul books, this is the list I'm going to look at for books to pick up. So I'm really excited about this priority TBR. What did you think? Did you see any books that I selected for the priority TBR that you are excited about, you have thoughts about? Leave those comments down below. And then let me know what your most anticipated book is that you're going to pick up next in those comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.